Just Baseball Show is presented by BetMGM. Full read from Peter in a moment. We got to talk about Ronald Acuna getting bum rushed by two fans in Coors. We got to talk about Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Harrison putting together exceptional outings, both at their home ballpark. And then you've got the level of worry in Texas, too. I mean, we talked about the greatness of Seattle recently with Aram yesterday, but now we got to get into the other flip of the coin, the slide of the Texas Rangers. And then our Leo Morgenstern, one of our editors at justbaseball.com, put together a wonderful power rankings of the top 15 relievers that are on postseason contenders. But before all that, Peter Apple, we are brought to you by
The Loaded Show, ladies and gentlemen, and we are brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Sign up and deposit into your newly created account using promo code JustBaseball. Download the BetMGM app on iOS or Android, or visit betmgm.com. Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once the wager is settled. I feel like we should go over the non-baseball news first that happened in Guaranteed Rate Field of something that happened.
Yeah, baseball adjacent. There was a shooting at Guaranteed Rate Field in the bleachers last Friday, I want to say it was. My parents were actually at the ball game. They left after 7. Shooting happened the 8th. So as soon as I saw that that night, I called my mom. I was like, "Were you guys in the ballpark for that?" And she was like, "No, we left." But notice, like, the outfielder, if you happen to see the video, notice the outfielder didn't even turn and look at what was going on. But apparently there were a couple of shots fired. There was one person that was shot but not injured. There was one person who was grazed by a bullet, and then there was one person that was hit in the leg. But thankfully, everybody's okay now. There were a couple of hospital visits, but this is from Peggy Kaczynski, who was on ESPN 1000, which is the White Sox flagship. She tweeted, quote, "As I reported on ESPN 1000 just now, the shooting at Guaranteed Rate Field during a White Sox game was indeed an accidental discharge by one of the women, quote, grazed by the bullet. She reportedly snuck the gun in past metal detectors, hiding it in the folds of her belly fat." So that's interesting in its own right, and we're not going to get into that. But we will get into a gun making its way into a major league ballpark. Why? How? There are metal detectors. That's kind of crazy that she snuck it through. And this just sucks that this is a story. There shouldn't be guns in ballparks from people that don't have, the right to carry with their job, like a police officer.
Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Nobody seems to have, lasting injuries. So I feel like I can make this joke. And I hope it doesn't offend anybody. But sneaking a gun in your belly fat into a baseball game sounds very American.
Very American. Did you ever see Get Him to the Greek?
Yes, but a long time ago.
So that was Russell Brand
and Jonah Hill.
It was Jonah Hill. So Get Him to the Greek is a hilarious movie. And Russell Brand wants Jonah Hill to sneak, I think it's cocaine, through the metal detector, through TSA, and he shoves it up his butt. And I'm like, okay, here we go. But that's coke and it's a movie. This is kind of real life, hiding a gun in your rolls. That's bizarre.
Very bizarre. At least it was accidental. I'm trying to find the bright light of this one.
I don't know. Don't bring a gun into a ballpark.
And also don't attack Ronald Acuna Jr.
I was going to say, nice transition. I was going to say, yeah, don't bum rush in MVP, not front runner, now MVP contender, because Mookie is the odds-on favorite. But yeah, Acuna rushed by 2 different fans at Coors Field. One of them literally tackled him in excitement. That was scary.
That was not only scary, first of all, the 2 guys hugging, but how about when security was trying to get them to leave? They wouldn't leave. Both of them were fighting back. They were throwing punches. They kept running back, and Acuna sitting there probably incredibly afraid. I mean, you're just out there by yourself, and the security takes a while to get over you. And you just got fans rushing into you to give you a big bear hug. They even knocked him down on the ground. You can find the clip on our Instagram. It's from 44 Billy G on Twitter, Billy Grossman. He took a video at Coors Field in the bleachers, and we got a great view of it. So if you want to see that video, go check out our Instagram where the footage is. But I was shocked. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
So obviously, like, we've had streaker, and they're not streakers because, like, they're not naked, I guess. You've had runners on the field that go to a player and, like, want to give them a high five, but, like,
not
the
tackle.
Way, no, not tackle. And the way that they were, fighting back, like, this one guy's being dragged out towards the wall and he's flailing his legs, trying to, like, climb over the security guard to get back to him. And I was trying to figure out, like, do they want to hurt him? Do they want to hug him?
I couldn't figure it out.
I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, if they got to Acuna, if they did succeed in their mission to get away from security, what were they going to do? And, like, that's the most terrifying part. Right after COVID, right when crowd restrictions got limited in the NBA, we saw a lot of fan-player interactions where fans were throwing shit at players and treating them like zoo animals. If I'm Acuna in that situation, I feel like such a zoo animal, and that's so degrading and sad. And, like, this isn't the first time we're talking about this kind of thing.
I also respect Acuna for his reaction, right? The first fan comes up and gives him a bear hug, and he kind of just puts his arm out, and he's like, I'm not touching him. Like, I'm not trying to do anything to this guy.
I would have stuck the shit out of him.
Yeah. I know. Then the guy gets dragged off, and then another dude comes in running 10 to 15 miles an hour, probably 15 beers in, and tackles him, pushes him to the ground. And Acuna kind of stands up. Thankfully, wasn't injured at all, stayed in the game, and the Braves won 14-4. And he also had an incredible game that day. Home run that was at 112 miles an hour that just soared over the right field fence. Played great that day. Seems fine. But I've never seen a clip like that before. I've never seen fans that aggressive. I mean, also, do we know if they were Braves fans? I think that's the most confusing thing, too. We don't know whether they were going after him. It seemed like they loved him.
It seemed like the first one was, like, trying to almost take a selfie with Acuna. Did you notice that?
Yeah, or like something. There was something going on. Very hard.
Two fans rushed Ronald Acuna, and it was just bizarro. And yeah, he handled it incredibly well, but he shouldn't have to handle anything like that.
Exactly. That's why I had a lot of respect for him. Like you said, you would have stuck him. I probably would have done it too. And it's not even, I'm going to get angry at a fan. It's like a reaction. Right, the dude's running after you.
Self-defense tactics. Yeah,
probably smells like Coors Light. Probably smells horrible. Think about it.
So you say 15 beers. I say at altitude, it probably only took 5 or 6.
Might have been 15 beers at altitude, which means 30.
Which means 30. It's like if you have a sandwich, the bread expands if you have water to follow. So
the thing is, it could have been a Rockies fan because for some reason they're still going out there watching that team.
They're always like top 10 in attendance, or at least top half in attendance.
I actually respect the shit out of Rockies fans for that.
Yeah, they just released Profar too. Like they're making big things happen. Hunter Goodman looked kind of gas. So
yeah, Nolan Jones has been good. Michael Toglia had a decent day.
It's a conversation for a different day. Acuna is going to go 30-60, and Mookie Betts is now the odds-on favorite. I know you guys talked about Mookie at the end of last week, and Freddie Freeman's hitting 340, by the way. He might clip Arise if Arise continues this cold stretch he's on. I think Freddie's within 8 points of Arise in the batting average department right now.
Yep.
I mean, Acuna could be the first guy ever to go 30-60. He will be the first guy ever to go 30-60. And he could very well, if he kind of limps to the finish line, finish third in NL MVP voting.
It will be very disappointing for Braves fans if they have the best record in Major League Baseball. They have arguably one of baseball's best offenses, not only in the 21st century, but all time. They have Spencer Strider, who might be the first pitcher to have 300 Ks in a long while. And Ronald Acuna Jr. already stole his 60th base yesterday, and he's at 29 home runs. So he will be 30-60. I think he could be 35-70, and they don't have an MVP, and they don't have the Cy Young, and they won't have the Rookie of the Year either.
I think Snit needs to win Manager of the Year. But there are other candidates in the National League. So
Torey Lovello, look at what the Diamondbacks have been able to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, David Ross should be in that conversation of the
Craig
Cubs.
Counsell.
Thompson, Rob Thompson. Like there are so many
Yeah.
options right now. So it's really no shooing that they take home any end of year award except a World Series trophy. And it takes a month of great ball to win a World Series trophy.
And the best team doesn't always win. We've seen that all the time. We saw it in the College World Series where Wake Forest was the number 1 seed, best team in college baseball. They did not win it. And there's Braves fans angry. We wrote an article on justbaseball.com, and I understand it from a Braves point of view because you watch Acuna every day. But at the same time, Braves fans, don't act like I wasn't watching that game either. We saw what Ronald Acuna Jr. did in the outfield when the ball went up in the air and it dropped right in front of him. That's why Mookie Betts has a 7.3 FWAR and Ronald Acuna's at 6.2, below Freddie Freeman. How about offense? The best offensive stat we have, WRC plus. Mookie's at 173, Acuna's at 162. What about OPS? On base plus slugging. Mookie Betts is at a 1,018. Acuna's at a 980.
He's got
Acuna
like the big four.
And
I saw
Mookie has more home runs.
Yeah, I saw your tweet. It was Mookie has the lead over Acuna in WAR, in OPS, in WRC plus, and in homers. And those could be the 4 biggest things that MVP voters do look at. Like the
batting average too, but then you look at Freddie Freeman, who's also close in all of those areas to Acuna. So it's but really at the same time, like, let's not unappreciate how
Acuna sucks.
He has been freaking amazing day in and day out, but we got to clean up the defense here, folks. The arm is a rifle, but can we catch some fly balls? I mean, I think if he was just an average right fielder this season by the numbers, he would have the lead over Mookie, or at least right there. He's just been a really bad defender all year. And no matter how many stolen bases you have, if you're a full win above replacement worse than Mookie Betts, who's also on a first place Dodgers team, who's also 12 and a half games up in their division, Snicker might not even get it. Might be Dave Roberts.
It won't be Dave Roberts, I don't think.
Look at all the injuries to the Dodgers this year, especially in their starting rotation.
By the way, Gonsolin and TJ is tough.
Tony Gonsolin is going to be out until probably the end of next season. Can we stop talking about Tommy John surgery? Fuck, it's so depressing.
It's so crazy.
It's just, yeah.
All right, let's talk Grayson Rodriguez now.
Yes.
Rookie pitchers showed out on Monday night, and a guy that did it was Grayson Rodriguez. 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs, struck out 6, walked 1, got through 6 and 96 pitches against the lowly Chicago White Sox. But this is the number that I really appreciate. Not that he bullied the crap out of a bad, lethargic team. Underdog Fantasy, Underdog MLB, their page puts out some great splits. And remember, G-Rod went down to AAA Norfolk for about a month, 6 weeks.
Yeah, his last start in Major League Baseball before he got sent down was on May 26th against the Rangers, where he went 3 1/3 and allowed 8 earned. Then he made his first start back from AAA on July 17th, allowed 4 earned against the Dodgers. And ever since then, he has been one of the better right-handed pitchers in Major League Baseball.
So 11 starts before getting optioned. He had a 7.33 ERA and opponents were hitting 3.10 against him. Since he's come back from AAA in 7 starts, this guy has a 2.32 ERA and opponents are hitting a $1.76 against him. And I like that Underdog pointed out the cutter usage going down dramatically. It was a terrible pitch, so he scrapped it pretty much entirely. But there's a lot more than that, I think. And it's where his misses are. His misses were middle. And there were some cookies that were getting laid in. And with a guy with this much talent, you can't be giving major league hitters cookies. And now he isn't. I think we're seeing the best version of Grayson Rodriguez, which is an ace in Major League Baseball as a rookie. And in the last 7 starts, Grayson Rodriguez is pitching like an ace. And if you just look at his fastball in a vacuum yesterday, some of the most effortless 100-mile-an-hour fastballs on the corners you will ever see in your effing life. It was so easy for him to obliterate the White Sox.
He looks like a completely different pitcher from the first stint in Major League Baseball to the second. And we can look at a couple of starts and look at how he changed his pitch usage, right? Because you talked about the cutter, but there's a couple other things as well. So against the Royals, he allowed 6 earned in 3 innings back in May. Same thing against the Angels, except it was 8 earned in 3 innings. Against the Royals, his fastball averaged about 95.4 miles an hour. And against the Angels, 97 miles an hour. There were plenty of cutters. There was a lot less changeups, less sliders. But in that outing against the White Sox, 6 innings, 1 hit, no earned, 6 Ks, his fastball averaged 98.4 miles an hour. He threw 25 changeups and 11 sliders. He basically is becoming a 3-pitch guy, but he can also give you a taste-breaking curveball, and he was only throwing 3 cutters. So there's a couple of things. The cutter usage, which the quality of contact against it was terrible, he shelved it. And I like it because Grayson doesn't need 5 pitches. Grayson needs to focus on the fastball when it's 98 to 100 miles an hour. His changeup and his slider and his curveball, even when he was bad, those pitches were excellent. Like over the full season, opponent batting averages against those breaking balls, all under 200. It was the fastball early on in the cutter. So we took out the cutter, and he's started throwing around 95 to 97. Now he's 98 to 100. And while the fastball is still getting hit up a little bit, it always helps when you throw 98 to 100. And you have to be ready for the changeup. The changeup is disgusting. The slider is fantastic. So he can go away from lefties. He can go into lefties. He can do the same to righties. And when he's up in the zone with 99, it can be a dead zone-y fastball. Like, it doesn't have so much induced vertical break. Like, it's not a Spencer Strider level fastball. But at the end of the day, it's 100. And then when you have to get ready for 3 other off-speed pitches that dip into the low 80s, he's got 3 different speeds. And the top speed is as elite as humanly possible. And when he's locating everything, we're seeing an ace in form. And that's what the Orioles need. But they already have a guy who's pitching at an ace level in Kyle Bradish. So this team needed starting pitching. And they now have 2 ace level pitchers right now. And you laugh about Kyle Bradish when he's sitting with one of the... I would say ace. If you are top 5 in ERA in the American League, you are pitching at an ace level.
Kyle Bradish, I mean, shit, dude, 133 2/3. He's got a 3.03 ERA.
Better than Garrett Cole.
He's kind of pitching at an ace level. Damn. No, I think Cole is sub 3 now. I think Cole
is he? Oh, yeah, because an error got taken away from him, which helped him, I think.
No, an error. Yeah, an error was given, and that in turn create more unearned runs. And Cole, I think, is sub 3 now with Bradish at a 3.03.
Fair. But he's right next to Garrett Cole. Ace level. And then you just said about Grayson, he's pitching at a 2.5, ace level. We see the stuff. Like, when watching that start against the White Sox yesterday, I mean, he looked like it is the poverty White Sox, but let's not pretend that Grayson has had this easy ass schedule.
No, he hasn't.
Since he got called up, right? Yeah, he shoved against the White Sox, the Blue Jays, the Padres, the Astros, the Blue Jays again, the Yankees, who suck, the Rays, and the Dodgers. That's not an easy schedule either. And he is, besides that start against the Dodgers, no more than 3 earned runs. And he allowed 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, 0, 2, and then 4, going at least 5 innings, mostly 6 innings in every start.
So, you know what I can really appreciate is the strikeout numbers are not necessarily gaudy, but what is gaudy over the last 5 starts, like G-Rod in the minor leagues was 13 to 14 strikeouts per 9, which is unheard of and borderline unsustainable. Like, it's Strider level strikeout numbers. Now, can Grayson recapture that? Yes, he can. Is he ever going to be a 7.5 Ks per 9 guy? Absolutely not. G-Rod has way too good of stuff. He's always going to be striking out at least a hitter per inning.
Yeah.
But at this rate, he's striking out 9.5 per 9, which is a little bit lower than I was expecting him to be at. But what I can really appreciate is he has limited the walks, and his overall strike rate is very high since he's come back. And when you have 100 and you have all those complementary off-speed pitches like you're talking about, living in the strike zone is just so important. And there are very few guys that throw 100 with a true 4 or 5 pitch mix that can live in the strike zone. Like, those are some of the best pitchers in baseball. Where does your mind go when I say that? Because Strider's a 2-pitch guy. I mean, McClanahan's got 4 that he'll turn to. DeGrom, for the most part, is a 2-pitch guy.
I mean, it kind of gives me Zach Wheeler vibes.
Wheeler is a good one. Honestly, Bueller type vibes too, because Bueller, like, while he's not 100, he's 95.
He was there for a little bit.
Yeah, in spurts. He was 5 to 6 or 5 to 7, and it was a 5-pitch mix, and he was landing all of them for strikes. So it's a very unique cut. And I'm not saying you have to do this to be good, but if you do this, chances are you're really good.
If you're going to throw 99 miles an hour and you have 3+ breaking balls, you're going to do very well.
Yes.
But that's the thing, is like he became, I think he's now trusted in his stuff, or he got some sort of injection of life, because he was 95.4 miles an hour in that start against the Royals. He was 98.4 yesterday. 3 miles an hour different on the fastball. What does that tell you? At least it tells me that he's fully healthy and that he trusts in his stuff. But I don't know, like 3 miles an hour?
So
was he sick that day against the Royals? But then he was getting bombed other starts too.
It is not only refreshed, like your arm feels different on a day-to-day basis. And these guys are more in tune with their bodies than anybody else. It's not only physically refreshed, but it's mentally refreshed. And I'm sure he had a new level of confidence, and he has a new level of confidence than what he had in that start. Before we jump to the next rookie
also,
pitcher,
you got to be pretty confident when you see like the White Sox coming into town. Be like,
for sure,
this is where I got my shutout.
And you see Michael Kopech just yanking pitches that are high hopping past Corey Lee, and you're scoring on wild pitches.
You know,
it's easier to pitch when you have a 6-run lead. Facts. I get it.
9-run lead. They won 9-0, by the way.
I know they did. Before we jump to the next rookie pitcher, do you know who led all of Major League Baseball in whiffs yesterday? This guy had 20 whiffs. I'll tell you that John Gray had 19, Sevy, Giolito, and Blake Snell had 15, but this guy had 20.
Was it Kyle Harrison?
No.
Grayson?
No. Reese Olson against the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, so I wouldn't have known. I was watching every other game, because why the hell would I turn that game on?
I love that for you. Yesterday was Abbott and Harrison, which was very fun. And Harrison is a 2-pitch guy right now. He threw 6 changeups? Yeah, he threw 91
70% fastballs, Jack. 70%
fastball, 25% slurve, and then he mixed in the occasional change. His 4-seam fastball sat 94. His slurve, his sweeper, sat 83. In terms of whiffs, he got 7 whiffs on the 4-seam, 4 whiffs on the slurve, and a whiff on the changeup. What Kyle Harrison did yesterday to the Cincinnati Reds, and granted, the Cincinnati Reds are not hitting well at all right now. And with McLean on the IL with that oblique thing, like, that makes their lineup even more thin.
And Jake Fraley hasn't been back in a while, and he was such a spark plug for them.
Yep. But Harrison, in 6 1/3 innings, he threw into the 7th inning, 3 hits, no runs, 11 punch outs, 2 walks, 91 pitches to get him into the 7th. I would have never guessed that Kyle Harrison could put together a line like that in 2023. Down the road, possibly. Yeah. But this guy was walking 7 hitters per 9 innings in Sacramento. He looked lost at points. 11 punchies and 2 walks, and he's throwing into the 7th inning. Wow.
But here's why I think Kyle Harrison's going to kind of be a roller coaster, right, for the next month or so. And then I think he'll figure it out next season. And I think he'll be a good starter in Major League Baseball moving forward. You talked about the walks, right? But no one on earth has ever doubted the stuff. The fastball quality is excellent. He gives me vibes from that low slot, but it's rising on hitters, kind of like a left-handed Joe Ryan in that sense. You know how we go over some of the best pitches in baseball? We did that at the beginning of the year, and we're like, at number 3, Joe Ryan's fastball, and we sounded like idiots. 90. But the data backed it up, right? The run value on these pitches, it's so tough to time up, even though it's 92 to 93 for Joe Ryan, comes from this slot. You might think it's sinking, but it ends up riding on you and it's blowing by hitters at 92. Now that's coming from the left side at 95. These guys look like they were seeing 105. It had so much giddy up on it. It was incredible. And then when he can mix in that slurve, like when he's throwing strikes, it's not Strider level stuff, obviously, but you don't see 95 from a lefty from that angle almost ever. So it might not grade out as well as a Strider, but it's got to look like something that they haven't seen for the first 5 months of the year, and they probably won't see much moving forward, because what other lefty in Major League Baseball can do that to a fastball, right? Cole Reagans is 100 for the Royals, but he's more over the top. It doesn't have that same induced vertical break where it just flies up at the top of the zone. So when he's throwing strikes, Jack, I wasn't surprised that he was able to put together an outing like that. The problem is, and what you're pointing to, is that the command hasn't been there for what seems like months. And then today it was, or yesterday it was, against the Reds. And then when it's there, people are like, oh shit, he's the best pitching prospect in baseball.
So yes, he is better than DL Hall is. And Hall is the last guy that we kind of had this conversation about. I think Cavalli was kind of in that conversation too, because Cavalli, I know you love how electric the stuff is. He just couldn't throw strikes. Cavalli,
I fell in love with him at the Futures game, because we go to the Futures game every year, and obviously Jack and Arm are looking at prospects day in and day out when I am not. And so I have instant reactions from Futures games where I get to see one inning and I see like 3 pitches, and I look over to Jack and Arm and be like, that's my guy. So Kate Cavalli was my guy because he was 100 and it was easy. Shane Baz, one of my guys.
You remember who your guy was this year?
Mizorowski of the Brewers.
No, I thought it was Lawrence Butler.
Oh, well, he was offensively, but just if we're on the same side of pitching, that 97 at the top of the zone from that arm slot, I looked over to you guys and was like, holy fuck, who was that?
Yeah, Mizorowski's everybody's guy from the Futures game. But
yeah. But yeah, Lawrence Butler and Junior Caminero. He was really my guy. He felt like a third baseman Jordan archetype.
Yeah, it was fascinating. It was like creative player. Yeah, if you move Jordan to third base. No, man, but like Harrison, I just don't know what to expect on a nightly basis. So I think what I have to do for the sake of my mentals is I need to go into each Harrison start without any preconceived idea, without any expectation. And I can't sit here and be like, told you so, like told you the walk was coming. Like that's just not good for anybody, because 11 punch outs in 6 in the third shutout
with one pitch, basically,
is exactly what San Francisco needs. And oh, by the way, I know that you would love this guy. Arm and I hit on him like so briefly on the call up, because he is a rookie this year, and I think he might get some, back of the ballot rookie of the year votes. Ryan Walker came out of the pen for Kyle Harrison, and Ryan Walker has been amazing this year. And if you don't know who that is, it's funky arm slot from a righty, a 27-year-old rookie. In 36 appearances, he's kind of a swingman. He started 11 games, 48 and 2/3, a 2.22 ERA, striking out 10.5 per 9 and walking 2.5 per 9. Ryan Walker's been amazing this year.
I'm smiling so big ear to ear, because after we wrapped up on Kyle Harrison, I was going to say, did you see Ryan Walker do it again after he came in? We were on the same wavelength there. This guy has been one of the most fun under the radar relievers in Major League Baseball. Just some 27-year-old rookie that you click on the stat line. You're like, oh, he's got a good ERA. But then you watch him and he's like, holy shit, this guy's coming at you from just this disgustingly awesome angle. Like, I'm falling in love with these guys that it doesn't look the same as anybody else in baseball, and they just have this stuff that gets on you. It must be so hard to pick it up from the box. Like in the offseason, I'd love to get more hitters on, especially in that West division, and just ask them about these young, like even Bobby Miller, again, had a kind of a rough start against Diamondbacks, but you can tell he's got ace level stuff. It's just when he has it that day or not. Like we've seen with Grayson, right? He's had a couple of 8-hit, 3-earned outings against the Blue Jays, for example. But when they're on, they look amazing. Amazing. And Ryan Walker's not a starter, but in the bullpen, that whole Giants bullpen has been so great this year.
Yeah. And they're kind of the reason why they are still in the wild card hunt, because that starting rotation does not scream postseason. That lineup does not scream postseason, but their ability to win 2-0 games, 2-1 games has been so commendable.
I don't know if the laser beam is pointed at Earth. Give me Wilmer Flores. Seriously.
Yeah, good
Kind of.
point. Iguodala and Wilmer Flores is a great.
Very similar.
The Martians have the death beam. By the way, the Yankees released Josh Donaldson. How do you feel about that?
Great. It's a good start.
Okay. Level of worry with the Texas Rangers is the second to last thing we want to hit on before we get to relievers on contenders. The Rangers have lost 8 of 11. And since Friday the 18th, I want to say, not last Friday, but the Friday before, the Texas Rangers pitching staff has a 5.75 ERA, while their offense has been middle of the pack in terms of team OPS. And it's fine that their offense has had a rough go of it for the last 10, 11 games. It's going to happen. They were so far and away the best offense in baseball for the first 2 months of the year. Like, they're going to hit some snags. But what can't happen is the best offense in baseball hits a snag while the pitching doesn't back them up. That's not what World Series winning teams do. Pitching has to back up cold offense for 2 weeks. And that's not what's happening. And I think I probably got in front of it before you guys did. Remember early last week, I said the Mariners, I think, are going to win the AL West. I'm really concerned about the absence of Nate Eovaldi. Really concerned. And it sucks that it's actually coming to fruition right now. But how concerned are you with Texas? Do you feel like they're, hey, let's stop thinking about it, they're going to be a wild card team, we're good?
No, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. And I was going to go into the numbers and I was going to find the right answer, quote unquote, or at least what the data tells us. But then I thought to myself, dude, you watch Rangers games almost every day. They're one of my favorite teams to watch in Major League Baseball. They really are, especially early on in the season. I felt that every night I was turning on the Rangers game because this offense was a show. From 1 to 9, from Marcus Semien all the way to Leody Taveras, there was no breaks. But now there are. And you say the absence of Nate Eovaldi, while I think that's important, I actually think the starting pitching has been fine. It's been this offense. And it's also partly on the bullpen. But the biggest issue is what I thought was their biggest strength and something that would never falter. When I watch Rangers games earlier on in the season, they could be losing 3-0 in the 5th inning, and I have no worries because I know this team is going to put out a 5 spot. If they don't hit the starter, let's say he goes 5 innings. Any reliever they point out there, 5 spot. It's 5-3 going into 7. Then it's 5-4 because the bullpen gives up a run. Then it's 8-4, game over. They just barreled on you. Marcus Semien got on first. Corey Seager hits a double. Nathaniel Lowe drives him in. There's 2. Then Adolis Garcia hits a home run. And you're just like, oh, shit. They just put up 4 runs without getting it out. That's not happening. Semien is still doing his thing. Seager is still doing his thing. But Nathaniel Lowe feels like I'm watching him strike out every at-bat. And remember, I could give you the data. Like, maybe I'm wrong. But when I turn on the Rangers games, like I've said, this is what I see. Semien gets on. Seager gets on. Nathaniel Lowe either strikes out or grounds out. Adolis Garcia strikes out. And then, like, Mitch Garver is the guy to drive them in. But then you look at down the lineup, and this is what made them so good, was Ezekiel Duran, Travis Jankowski, Josh Young, Leody Taveras. These guys were playing like all-star level calibers at the bottom, so there was no breaks. Those guys aren't anymore. So if Adolis and Nathaniel Lowe aren't getting this team going like they were, they're still doing fine, but not to the level that they were. This offense stalls, and they're losing a lot of 4-3 games, which is so unlike the Rangers, right? Like, for example, in that Mets game, right? We saw finally the offense kind of break out in the last inning, but it took them a really long time. And they still only gave up 3 runs to the Mets, and they won 4-3. I'm not used to 4-3 wins, 4-3 losses. I'm used to 8-4 wins, 9, 10-4. There was a stretch there where they were scoring 10 every day. They're not doing that anymore. That's why I'm nervous about them, because we already didn't think that they had incredible starting pitch, and we already thought they didn't have incredible bullpen. If this offense doesn't show up, They are not as good as the Astros, and they are not as good as the Mariners. They just aren't. But if it does, they can beat anybody on any given day. That's why I can't give up on them, because I've seen that for so long. And if it kicks in at the end of September and they roll that into the playoffs, they're dangerous.
So now I ask you, okay, say the offense doesn't come all the way back to that pre-All-Star break Texas Rangers offense that littered the All-Star roster. I will take Seattle over a diluted Rangers offense. I will take Houston over a diluted Rangers offense. But the question becomes, do you take a diluted Rangers offense over the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yeah, because their offense has been diluted all year.
Yeah. So, like, I guess the
Blue Jays have a better pitching. Blue Jays have better pitching and a better bullpen.
Gausman, by the way, first AL pitcher to 200 punch-outs this year, I think I saw, and he's 200-plus punch-outs in each of the last 3 years. Gausman's really good, man.
Blue Jays offense finally showed up for him. Gausman gave up 3 against the Nationals. Normally, that's game over. It's 3-1 or 3-2. Blue Jays, how about it? 6-3 win with Gausman on the mound?
And
with the most runs he's scored for him all year.
And wasn't it without Bichette and without Chapman? Of course, without Chapman.
Chapman has been horrible.
But he's on the IL. Yeah.
But honestly, that's not a bad hitter to get out of the lineup right now. Davis Schneider is better.
1,400 OPS, Davis Schneider. And then Ernie Clement playing shortstop for them. So,
Bichette, that's still a tough loss. It has not been on Bichette all year. It's been Vladdy, who ranks 129th out of 140 qualified hitters in terms of pitches per plate appearances. Swings at the first or second pitch every single time. I mean, how many times can you ground out on the first or second pitch, Vladdy, before you make an adjustment? It's August 30th. Be better. What's going on? Take a pitch. It infuriates me because we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. over 163.5 hits in our season-long entry to win over $6,000, and he goes 1 for 5 every game. He gets a hit every game because there's one pitch that's going to be in the zone on the first or second. But if it's like a good pitch, he's grounding out. It's infuriating.
Vladdy and Alejandro Kirk. I think Kirk has been like
Kirk has sucked.
Yeah, the disappointment.
So disappointing.
I was hoping Espinal was going to be better too, but
Varsho's heating up though.
Varsho is heating up. Yeah. By the way, I think I saw defensive runs saved. The 3 leaders are Ke'Bryan Hayes, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Dalton Varsho.
What a list.
Those are all second-generation big leaguers. Dalton's dad, Gary Varsho, big leaguer. Fernando Tatis Jr., his dad, big leaguer. Ke'Bryan Hayes, his dad, Charlie Hayes, big leaguer. I think guys with major league lineage just happen to be really good defenders. That kind of makes a lot of sense.
And if I'm not mistaken, Bobby Witt Jr. is 4?
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Another second-generation major leaguer. So,
Bo Bichette is at the bottom. Dante Bichette.
Dante, what was it? Dante had like 40 pumps in a year at Coors, and he had a -2 B WAR.
Yeah, he never taught Bo to defend, but damn, can Bo hit.
Let's see. Dante Bichette, 40 homers and 128 driven in 1995. His WAR in 95, 1.2. You should have more than that. 1.2 WAR.
Higher than Vladdy's WAR this year.
It is. You're right. You make a great point. So that's what we got going on here. I want to wrap with a great thing that Leo Morgenstern put together at justbaseball.com. We will link the article in the episode description, but he power ranked the best reliever from every contending team. And his criteria was 1 reliever per team. So you weren't going to get 2 Mariners. You weren't going to get 2 Rangers or 2 Brewers, anything like that. And you're also going to get a guy from each team within 3 games of a postseason berth. So he separated them into the American League and the National League. The AL, he had 7 guys. Yes, he did. So just going to run you through 7-1 in the American League, and then we'll do 9-1 in the National League. Number 7 in the American League, he had Jordan Romano of the Blue Jays, sporting a 2.5 ERA at this point, looked really good out of the bullpen. Number 6, he's got Brian Abreu, who I think is the most underrated reliever in baseball. This guy has been amazing, and he's never going to relinquish that closer job to Presley because Presley has seniority over Abreu, but Abreu is unfucking believable.
He is unfucking believable, but like so is Presley. I get
I know
what the Astros are doing. Like I agree with you. I am a Brian Abreu guy. I have him on my fantasy team. I don't even know if he gets that many points, but I just love seeing his face there. Because I'm like, I got him in the bullpen, even though it's a fantasy team.
Yeah,
gets
but like,
so many holds.
Get a good
So many
setup
holes.
guy. Yeah. Number
But
5.
Presley, I would put Presley in the closer role too. I would. He's such a dog.
He
He's
is.
such a dog.
Who's Abreu? But Abreu is the better reliever statistically this year, and that's why he's number 6. Number 5 is Yennier Cano, the Baltimore Orioles. Bautista would be a clear-cut number 1. Bautista is now hurt, so Leo factored that in. Cano, 5. Andres Munoz with the Mariners, 4. Munoz is taking over the closer role, looked awesome.
I wouldn't have Munoz this high.
Really?
No, I would probably prefer Cano, and I'd probably prefer Abreu, honestly. Munoz
Really?
can get a little sketchy.
I disagree. I love Munoz in that closer role.
I love Munoz too, but he can get a little sketchy.
Whatever you say, man. Pete Fairbanks in Tampa is 3.
He's a fucking train engine.
He's a dog. He's a dog. And he's so honest at his post-game press conferences. I love it.
He used to be my mortal enemy because his first name is Peter and my name is Peter, and he's on the Rays and I'm a Yankee fan. So I coined him as my mortal enemy. But every single time I hear him talk, I like him more. So he's not really my mortal enemy anymore.
And his Instagram handle is Pete AF.
Yeah,
which,
I love him.
Understand it's Fairbanks, but like as fuck too. Joan Duran is 2. Aroldis Chapman is 1 based on what he's done this year. But I want to get into that top 7 here because Chapman, while he has had the best year, right, he's striking out 16.5 per 9. I saw the splits in save situations versus non-save situations. He's Mariano Rivera in non-save situations. But in save situations, it's kind of been tough sledding for him this year, I think.
Just to add context to that, this is from our guy at Yankee World, WRLD Addison, stud. Love this guy. On Twitter, Aroldis Chapman this year in non-save situations. And now this was posted August 27th. I assume it was posted at 5:21 p.m. I don't know if he caught that blow up against the Twins where he did allow a run, and he hasn't pitched since then. In non-save situations, 27 2/3, 0.98 ERA. In save situations, 4.35 ERA in 20 2/3, and the walk numbers, 2.93 walks per 9 in non-save situations, 7.84 in save situations. So all those problems that we have with Kyle Harrison's command, Aroldis Chapman has all of them in save situations. Putting him at 1, Leo, we got to be better than that. And I love Leo. And the stats back up what Leo is saying. But holy shit, no way do I want him in a save situation over every single name that you said. Seriously. But then there's sometimes where Aroldis Chapman's got it, and he looks like the greatest reliever I've ever watched. And I'm saying that quietly because it's a show. That was early on. That's when they first got him. That first outing that he came out. I was like, that was better than anything I've ever seen in my life watching you on the Yankees, and better than anything I've seen on the Reds either. He's 103 painting.
There were a couple
dirty slider. I'm like, holy shit! From the left side, he's got this new leg lift, and he's just firing away with his 6'11", 400-pound all muscle body.
I don't think he's 6'11", 400 pounds.
They tracked him that day, I think.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, he shrank again, but that day he was
for a random drug test.
He was 6'11", 400 pounds, all muscle.
Gotcha. Good to note. Chapman, there were some Reds Chapman outings where I was like, I think you're the best baseball player God's ever created.
I know.
So
there really were. I saw him in Great American Ballpark when he was on the Reds, and he came out. It was like the fire in the background, and just the way he was galloping. I was like, "Where'd you get this centaur from?" He gets on the mound sitting 104.
Yeah. Reds Chapman, different beast.
Like I just shriveled up, and I was in the stands. Can't imagine being a lefty.
I love how high Fairbanks was on this list because Fairbanks does not have the sex appeal of 103 from Andres Munoz, but Fairbanks has just been so consistent, man. And you always hear about the bad outings from him because he's so brutally honest and post-game media availability. And that's when he goes viral. But yeah, man, I think Fairbanks is really good. I am a little worried about Cano in a closer role. I am. Because again, I saw this guy be not good in AAA last year.
It's more than fair. He was terrible for the Twins. He was a throw-in in that trade.
Yes. Jumping to the National League, and we'll kind of go guy by guy here. Number 9, Alexis Diaz of the Cincinnati Reds.
My issue with Alexis Diaz, and it's not even Alexis Diaz's fault, like his numbers don't look quite as good. I mean, he's still got a 2.29 ERA and he's got a 2.89 expected ERA. He pitches every day. His arm must be falling off at this point.
He and Ian Jabot throw every day for
every
Cincinnati.
day. Like, what am I going to blame you for throwing like 7 innings a week as a reliever? So, like, I kind of have to throw the numbers because if like a fully healthy Alexis Diaz is a top 5 closer in baseball, I will stand on that.
Yeah. And his slider's been amazing this year, but yeah, he might just be tired as shit.
Same arm slot. Joe Ryan, Kyle Harrison, the 3/4 where it just rides up on you, but it's not that fast. But dudes are just blown away. Looks like they were hit in the chest by a cannon.
Dude, it's the same slot as Big Bro. And Big Bro, while Big Bro has 101 and Diaz has 99, I
miss Edwin Diaz so much.
Big Bro's slider is one of the most devilishly awesome pitches in baseball, and Little Bro's slider is kind of there too.
Facts.
So, number 8's Adbert Alzolay, and I know that I sung this guy's praises a couple weeks ago as like, hey, the Cubs found their closer. Cubs found their closer, man, and this guy does not allow walks.
Ever.
Out of nowhere. He was a starting pitcher that I was like really excited when he came back from injury. I was like, can't wait to see Alzolay in this rotation again. And then it was, he's a middle reliever. What are we doing? We're capping him. And now he's a closer. And I'm like, I kind of love that you made this move to the pen, man.
I love the way he works the 9th inning. Beat me. I dare you. I love that from a closer. It's not this fucking bullshit where it's like, first runner on, it's a walk. Then it's like 3-1, 3-2. Then he gets the K. Another walk, first and second, ground out, then a fly out to end it. And you're just on pins and needles. Bang, bang, bang. Sit down. Game over. Love it.
He has very low stress 9th innings. I agree with you.
Put your head on a pillow. Alzolay's in the 9th. We're good. That's why, someone commented under mine. He's like, for the podcast, is Albert Alzolay a top 5 closer? I'm like, we need a much larger sample size. These guys have been doing it for so long. But then I did say right now, there's not that many closers in baseball that I want right now closing out the 9th. Right now.
Other than Adbert Alzolay.
Adbert Alzolay. It's so low stress, and he never pulls a save. It's just bang, bang, bang. Done.
Yeah, I think in terms of low stress, best version of David Bednar is up there too.
Mm-hmm. That's why I love Bednar. It's just 95, and it's beat me. Honestly, and then sometimes it gets beat, but at least it's not fucking walks.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it might be Bednar. Clase is pretty low stress too.
Not this year. Really not this year. He's pissed me off all year.
Got you. All right, number 7, Camilo Doval in San Francisco. Yes. I know. That one's for the YouTube crowd.
I love him.
Okay. Evan Phillips with the Evan Phillips with the Dodgers is 6. Phillips.
He's very good.
I mean, dude, if Fairbanks is underrated, Phillips is like, who is that guy? Will Smith. I think it was Ethan Badowski in our big group text. He said Will Smith might be like the least known superstar in baseball. Like if you went up to a random baseball fan and you said, showed him a headshot of Will Smith, do you know who this is?
Like this guy works in my office.
Yeah. It's like, oh, finance bro. Yeah. Like Kyle Tucker is like an underrated superstar, but Evan Phillips, when you look at underrated, like best closers in the game or best relievers in the game, Evan Phillips is totally there.
Absolutely. Shoves. Kind of boring. He's not Camilo Doval with 100 and slider, but he's still good. He's very good.
There are a lot of baseball fans that if you gave them a headshot of Evan Phillips, they would have no idea who it is.
No, I barely know who it is. I mean, I watch him every day, and that goes to show you.
Yeah, just generic. I'm like Vesia, and then I black out and the game's over. I'm like, oh, okay, word.
And then Ferguson is it. He's like really good.
Yeah. Paul Sewald with the Diamondbacks is 5 in the National League for Leo.
No shot.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't like him?
No, I like him. He's just not that high. No shot.
So You think Phillips is better? Obviously, you think
Camilo Duvall would smoke that clown.
Okay.
Clown is too harsh of a word. That just goes to show I love Camilo Duvall. I would take all of the names you have said so far over Paul Sewald. I like Paul Sewald. He deserves to be 9. 5, Leo. What are we doing?
Here's another crazy one. Tanner Scott at 4. But Tanner Scott.
Actually,
Tanner Scott's been awesome.
Buzz.
Yes.
The stats back that up, but come on, Leo. What are we just doing, an ERA ranking?
Back this up. He's doing a statistical ranking, which I really appreciate.
And he is right. He is right on stats. But like bravado and X-dogging him.
But yeah,
Tanner Scott over Camilo Duvall.
Apple eye test, respectfully, eat shit, Leo.
No, my Apple StatCast is undefeated.
Got it. Number 3, Jose Alvarado with the Phillies. Alvarado has been amazing. 1.24 ERA, gents and ladies.
That's what I got to say about him. It's awesome. It's 99 with sink and cut.
Raisel Iglesias is 2.
No.
Iglesias. Yes.
This could go from 9 to 1. You might as well flip it on its head right now.
But who's 1?
Devin.
Yeah. He's amazing.
The ghost change up.
He'll win reliever of the year. Who wins?
It's one of the best pitches from a relief pitcher ever. I mean, it's Hoffman's changeup, Trevor Hoffman. It's Mariano's cutter, obviously.
Mo's cutter's on a different level, but I would say Mo's cutter and then Hoffman's changeup, Chapman's fastball.
Billy Wagner's fastball, too.
Yeah, but Chapman's is different.
No, I agree.
And then I guess like right under that is Devin's change.
What about Eric Gagne's fastball when he was all roided up?
Yeah, Gagne was nutso. So
who else? Who else is in that conversation? There's got to be Goose Gossage had something.
Rich, I don't know. Eckersley probably had something. Lee
Slider
had something. But yeah, man, Devin's change is like
sometimes
like crack.
Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I'll just look up Billy Wagner highlights. Oh,
okay.
Gets me right back up.
You know what my bad day YouTube go is, right?
Well, it's changed for you. It's not always the same.
No, it's always been the same.
Who is it then?
Since like 2010, it's been the same.
What, you just watch like Mark Burley? Like
no, Andrelton Simmons Braves
highlights. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's what I do. Andrelton Simmons Braves highlights. That's my comfort video.
Just to wrap the show, you know Elvis Andrus has more career hits than Freddie Freeman?
Well, Andrus has been at it for a billion years, right?
Not that much longer.
Andrus had a couple years. Didn't he hit like 320 one year in Texas? Let's pull that up and then take us out. Elvis Andrus. Let's see. Yeah, I know he got to 2000. Yeah, 2069. He's a career 270 hitter. Andrus is 34 years old.
Yeah.
He debuted
Freddie's like 32.
Obviously
Freddie's better, but I didn't know that. I learned that a couple days ago.
Andrus has only hit over 300 once in his life.
It's kind of like Starling Castro. Just so many hits, and you're like, when did they happen?
Yeah, and they don't really walk, so I don't know, you just get a ton of at-bats. Yeah, it's fascinating. All right, take us out.
And that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Hopefully everybody enjoyed. And if you did, if you could rate and review this podcast 5 stars, whether that be on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and comment anything that you thought was asinine that came out of our mouths. Or if you agreed with anything, or just stuff that you want to hear moving forward, we'd greatly appreciate it. And if you do feel so kind, if you could go get yourself some Just Baseball merch, it's kind for yourself too. The hats are awesome. The shirts are awesome. And there's so many other things. Just go check out the merch store and let us know what you like, what you don't like. Our DMs are open. And support our partners, whether it be Alt, all you card collectors out there. The link is in the episode description. And of course, all you gamblers out there, playoffs are coming up. Football's coming up. And on BetMGM, it's all right there in the episode description. Code JustBaseball. We'll be back tomorrow. That's Jack. I'm Peter. And with that, thank you, everybody.